Okay. Okay, so Chazor, so what's he saying here? The Shaila, which the Rebbe Marash, we're wondering why the Rebbe stresses that the Shaila that Rebbe Marash was said in his first Maimer, in the beginning of his Nesius, at the end of the Maimer, he answers that quite extraordinarily. What's the Shaila? The Shaila is why the Eibishter says, Asher Tzisicham Yaretz Mitzrayim, and not Asher Barasi Yesh Ma'ayin, which is a bigger pella than Yitzias Mitzrayim. To understand that he's marked him different kinds of nisim. So there's the Seder Shem Elokecho, that's the Seder of Teva. Then there's the Seder, then there's the union of Giloim of Shem Shin Dalet Yud. And he says from there comes Nisim, but Nisim Distorim, meaning enclosed in Teva. And for example, Purim. And then there's the third Hanhag Shem Havaya, and that is open Nisim, like Yetzias Mitzrayim. If so, we have to understand that the Eibishter says that Ve'era Lavrom, Bekel Shindal Jud, Shmi Havai Leni Daiti Lahem, they only had accessed and experienced Shem Shindal Jud, and not Shem Havaya, and yet they were open Nisim, like Urkazdim. The answers. What is the answer, guys? What's the code of the answer?
Yes, and it is.
Yeah, right. So you're saying that it's Taka Shem Havaya, but it's Nimshech in and drawn through Shin Shem Dalet Yud. So what level of Shem Havaya is that? Havaya de Lesata. The pasuk says Hashem Karachem Chanan. Havaya mentioned twice. So the Pnimius is Havaya de Le'ela and Havaya de Lesata. And essentially Havaya de Le'ela is totally beyond Ishtal Shalus. And Havaya de Lesata, Lo Shem Havaya, is the bridge between Haid and Ishtal Shalus. And Ishtal Shalus, it's similar to Seviv Kol Almin, which on the one hand is beyond creation. On the other hand, it's measured by the fact that it's beyond creation. If you say something is higher than something else, it's already a relationship, not direct but indirect. So that's Havaya de Lesata. So Havaya de Lesata, from Kloli, it's Atzilus, which is, on the one hand, Atzilus is bound up with Ein Sof. That's why Atzilus, one of the meanings is Pashat Eitzel, close, near. On the other hand, Atzilus is already Tzir of Esesvidus, Lahatzel, which means to literally separate. So it's both close and far, as it were, the bridge between true Bli Gvul and Gvul. So that's Havaya de Lesata. Havaya de Le'ela is Mamish Bli Gvul. So the nisin that the Ovis experienced was Havaya de Lesata. Shmi Havaya says the Eibishter, meaning to say my name Havaya, as it's bound up with the Bli Gvul, uncompromised, that taka they didn't experience. So even those miracles were Nimshach in Teva, not like Purim, but Nimshach in Teva. Gashmi is how to see that, being in the furnace and not. Somehow the flames didn't reach him. It's not like the flames burned him and he didn't burn. The flames didn't reach him. So there's this element of you observing it. He's not, I'm just guessing and suggesting. Whereas Yetzias Mitzrayim, the observable phenomena is absolutely miraculous. There's no way to separate the miraculous from the event that you're looking at. I'm saying, but at any rate. So Shem Havaya, this was Lene Daitelhem Shmi Havaya, not Hashem Havaya de Le'ela, and that is Nizgala Web and Matan Torah. In order for that to happen, there's Gimel, so it began, there has to be first the Achon of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And there was a whole arichas here that Yetzias Mitzrayim is not just a physical act. You must say it's something spiritual because it exists in Torah and Torah precedes creation. So you have to say it's all saying in Ruchni. And we just pointed out that obviously it's true of everything in Torah. So what's the emphasis here? Yetzias Mitzrayim as if somehow it's a chiddush. or unique. So there is the inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim in all dargis, which means going beyond levels, till we reach the pure Elokecho, uncompromised revelation, totally beyond creation, and that's Havai Del Eila. And this truth, the eye of the Eibishter Anochi, was revealed whereby Harsina Anochi Havaya, that's Havai Del Eila, Shmi Havaya, and it's nimshech and given to every Yid in a way of Elokecho, your chayis, what you Gashmi is L'mate L'mhaze, you're connected to and suffused with and bound up with Havai Del Eila. And not just in the Neshama, but he stresses the Guf Gashmi, which is why the Guf Gashmi is a reflection of Shem Havaya, physically. The head is the Yud, and the torso is the Vav, and the two Heys are the hands and feet. And that's why, as opposed to all other creatures, man walks upright. And the fact that it exists by Umas Ha'olam is to give Bechira. So now we understand why Aseret HaDibros begins with Asher Tzitzicha Beretz Mitzrayim and not I created heaven and earth, Yesh Ma'ayin, because the Akdama to Matan Torah, which is to go beyond all dargis and to connect to the Eibishter himself, that's what Yetzias Mitzrayim is, and that was the Achana, therefore, for Matan Torah. This goes into more detail explaining even Kriyas Yamsuf. Right, we've learned these memorim. Anybody remembers Kriyas Yamsuf, the Pnimius, what's the Yam? Amud Diskasya, so even Amud Diskasya opens up and from Klali, it's the word of Hashem, like the collected body of water in the ocean. It's stationary, it's collected, that's a word. And the word of the Eibishter opens up. The word is what creates Shemayim Va'aretz. That opens up and we're experiencing the Eibishter beyond creator. But then there's the Beki of the Nohar, of the river, that happens in the Geula, which is not just the Beki of the Eibishter's word, he remembers, but the opening of the Eibishter's Kavayachal, Machshava, like the river always flows, Machshava is always flowing. Even the Eibishter's Machshava, which is the Kavan Pnimius, even that opens up in Tzmamash Gilui Atzmos Lasilovai. It's all relative. All these revelations are relative, and they're all bound up with each other, and in essence, all connected. It's a question of what is the overt experience, the overt revelation. Akoponim is Dalit. That's what we're up to. Yeah, Omamshir Ba'maimer. Yeah, was with me. Shemiyad Achari Itzias Mitnetim Aveda here. Hard hitting. 2:00 in the morning. Might say there. Quite interesting, the context. After Dalit cases and everybody's exhausted from Lachonis to Pesach, okay, it's the second night already, a bit geschlafen maybe. But the Rebbe, there's no rest by the Rebbe. So it says that after Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf, Amalek attacks. After Kriyas Yamsuf, even, which were Mamash Erev on the cusp of Matan Torah. What moved him? As long as you were connecting to Shemavaydel Sato, which means the Eibishter connected to Ishtal Shalo, Sof Kol Sof. Okay, no war. But he sees what's coming. That's all being split. And it's opening up to Shemavaydel Eila. So as long as that was Behel, he didn't care at all. But now when he sees what's happening, he understood better than anybody else that the Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf is Achana. The Eibishter himself is going to reveal himself and invest himself in a Yid. And this he couldn't bear. And then right away he's awakened and he jumps. It's a Lashon Hamedrash. He jumped into the boiling tub mashal of a boiling tub, but everybody was afraid to go into. And there was one mechutzev, one brazen one who jumped in, got burned, but cooled it off everybody else. So the Magic explains it. When even out of Mitzrayim, the world was in awe of them. And Amalek came along and said, no, they're not so untouchable. Watch. And even though he got burnt in the process, but the fact is he diminished their stature in the world. That's Pashat the Medish. Kofatz, that's I'm sure he's referring to that. Yes, Yitan Chuma, Rashi brings also. The Nagid is there to oppose Eden. So therefore comes out then, it's Tavindo, Zocher, es Asher Selcha Amalek. And we're commanded, don't remember what Amalek did to you. Messiah Letishkach, and the pastor concludes, don't forget. Now, why the double Lashon? Shaderach Mashkim Mitzilim Begab Yisara Mashkim. The pasuk says about the butler Sarah Mashkim Shlei Zocher as Yosef. He didn't remember Yosef after he was redeemed. Vishkacheyu, and he forgot him. Well, obviously, if he didn't remember, he forgot him. It's a Kashim Shudder Shamikra. What does Rashi answer? I didn't remember him then, and he forgot him later. So what's in Bepinimis? The Lechedin and Muvna Kef La Loshen. The Kim Shlei Zocher as Yosef, since he didn't remember him, Ma oid inyan v'ishkacheu, and he forgot him. So the answer is v'nyane ba'avoda. It's based on the Zohar, who asked in Hara 22, Kekushis HaZohar. So he's really explaining the Zohar's answer, which is very cryptic. V'nyane ba'avoda, what does it mean ba'avoda? This is what we have to deal with Amalek. And I'm not 100% sure, friends, if what's coming, I'm reading the Pshat right, so you're all invited, of course, as always, to express your opinion. So this is what he says. What's the two? In Yonam Avalai Zachad, A, and then B, Vishkacheyu, he forgot him. And here we have to remember Amalek and not forget Amalek. Because, Amalek pales by Eden that number one, not only he's not doing mitzvahs, not being mamshech alikus. So he's in neutral. That's one thing. But more than that, vishkacheyu, that's an active, making him forget, erasing. It's kind of a means going forward. But what was. That I remember, that I carry with me. Bishkacheya means to neutralize what was, even. What does it mean in Avodah? What has Amalek want to make us forget, erase? Shemisasik b'tanugim gashmim, the person's involved in physical pleasures. Hamishkachim alalekusa is barach, to make him forget godliness. Hainu, meaning, Shal Yidei Ma Shenimshech Acharei Taivis Gashmis. As a result of it, he's drawn after physical Taivis, Birurim Rabim, with many thoughts, Kol HaYom V'Chol HaLayla Lo Yanuach, all day and all night, unrelenting. Al Yidei Zeh Geirim La'atzmai, what's he doing to him? This is Amalek within. Sheyishkach Legamri Al Avodas Havayim. He forgets completely the whole unit of Avodah, which means even what he had accomplished till now, that he's not connecting to his own Avodah of the past. That seems to be the point. Not only going further. He doesn't want going further. He's going to stop this new madrega, this new relationship with the Eibush himself. That's one thing. That's V'lei Zochar. Even the Dargev of Avodah L'Sata, even the Avodah till now, the Jew is what you yourself accomplished. He's so sunken in Taivis that no longer relates to it. That seems to be the pshat. I mean, there's in Yonim that a person, there's a Veda, which is things that he's accomplished. He got Gelanten, Gedavant, he was a Bacher, whatever it was in his life, not just as a Bacher. Amalek comes along, not like going forward, not to reach new heights, but even that which you are shaykhs to, it's at your limited Avenda, caught up in taivas, you're just disconnecting from your own achievements, your own accomplishments till now. That's vishkachehu. L'chayre. So he wants to be leizachar as avay del eila. Leitishkach is even he wants to be vatal avay del asata, even the avay till now. L'chayre. Hey, Amam Sheba Maimer, and the Maimer continues that Rab Marash, Shebachol Yoim, Yesh Bechnes Yes Mitzrayim, Bechalas Amalek, every day there's the going out of Mitzrayim, the Melchama with Amalek, Maimer Azal Bachol, Deir Vadoir. Chai Vadam Dir, it's just Atzim, Kil Yotzim Mitzrayim, every generation, but they see themselves with Mitzrayim, Al Sheshem, Chilukim, Adregit, Rabbis. But it's not one blanket commandment, one blanket experience, one blanket achievement, but there are many differences. In this avodah v'siyas Mitzrayim that we give us to face every day. The Rabbi explains that there's different kinds of illness, different dargish. On the roim being begashmius, we see in physical illness. There are many levels in sickness. The most severe is someone who is in dire danger of life. What's the word? One word for it. Yeah.
Mortal.
Yeah.
Mortal danger.
Yeah, mortal danger. Such a person needs very strong very strong healing medication. Then there's a second, a higher dog, or less intense. He's sick, but he's not in mortal danger. But if much lighter, less intense, less aggressive, healing can heal him. And then there's a third dagger. He's a little bit sick. Well, what's a little bit sick? He's not perfectly healthy. That's also called chayil. He could be stronger, could be healthier, could be better. Now this healing it doesn't need actually medication. It's enough to make sure that he's not injured by that which is injurious and can damage his health. He'll go back to his strength. Okay, so he's not in his full strength, and all he needs to do is just monitor his behavior, make sure he's not exposed to anything that's damaging. What's all this baruchni is? In the maladies of the soul. What is a chayla who is in mortal danger? He stumbled in forbidden desires, God forbid. And someone who is ill, but is not in mortal danger, or being cut off, of dying, literally, that he is immersed, sunken in permissible desires. Even though they're permissible, and Al-Rebbe says in Tanya, by frequent engagement and indulgence, he becomes so materialistic and so coarse, so thick. He becomes sick, spiritually sick. He did nothing wrong, but repeated taivas heter create this coarseness. He's also v'kosher. He's tied and bound up in the world's pleasures. He actually parted me to he cannot extricate himself at all. It's not a sakona mamish because he's on a path of, he's not going to cross the line. So he's on a path of Torah mitzvahs kavayoch, because akaponim taivaseta, these are permissible pleasures. But if a kala bavshila israpis mechilzer with a little lachayim, he can, a good fabrengen, it can be healed, a good self-shaking up. My father-in-law's famous marshal of the chicken, right? Gives himself a good shake, and he can sober up, beruchnius, and be healed from this sickness. What's the third? Is just missing perfect health. Now the Rebbe teaches this. This is Rebbe Marash actually. Shinyani beruchen yusuk mishkos bekisvi adis, like it says in Kisvi adis, on this is Vata Tetzava, friends. Shechel begematria memtes chel is a gematria 49. He's holding by the 49 levels of Shari Bin El Shechos. That's a Shara Nun. He's missing the Etzer of the 50th level, which means Pashat giving himself over completely. He's giving over all these midas. His loves, his fears is all healthy and godly. And the Shara Nun is the Nekuda, the Zich. That's missing because and therefore he's sick. This is an illness that's only because he's not missing the ultimate level of connection. He doesn't need medication and doesn't need healing. He's got to separate, protect himself from that which could harm him. What does that mean? He's burning his Bavadas Hashem. To being misbein in Aveda, b'shomrish leilasis, leilahar behepachas v'shalom, and he's careful not to do and not to think anything contrary, God forbid. He goes back to his intense strength, kimikedem, as he was before, lies nishlam sharanun, to reach the 50th level. When was he at the 50th level? He'll now explain. Now the Rebbe is explaining now what the Rebbe Marash just said. And we'll see the emphasis in the beginning of the Nesiyas. Can explain here the tremendous ufto. It's again, it's a maimer, it's not a pshetel. A maimer is amshocha, it's creating realities, it's mamshich the inyonim. So the Rebbe Marash said it, but now it's the Rebbe Tavshich Chavav that's being megalit. This is what's coming to its shleimus. Being in there, so what's the chiddush in this matter? Shmechadish nasi. The medical words here. Nasi b'yisrael b'tchilas nesiyusay. And nasi by Eden and the beginning of his nesiyas. What's the chiddush of the beginning of his nesiyas? Because you do a many sipurim. The beginning of the nesiyas is tenuous in some way, and the nasi himself grows and grows and reveals more and more. But here, this is a gewaltige uft in the very beginning. Like lechatchila ribber, Reb Marash. V'nimshach gam la'achar is, and that's forever. Shai divri tzadikim kayam l'ada peilin pelasam leilim. The words of the tzadikim says, to Lashon Tefillah Rebbe, exists forever, and they are pale forever. So what's the Indian name of Vuba? Kama drashich sidis hich mekote teira. What's the ufto? So this is says including starting the teira shegili sharadun ene yochalav yedavidis od makeh chatzma. The Sharanun is a gift. You can't reach the 50th level through a person's own avodah. If you go through Mem test, it's granted to you. We can't draw this down at all. He was given this gift of Sharanun. Matan Torah is the 50th day. It's Matan Torah. It's a gift. That's the way it is. B'chlal Chassidus. It's not shaykhs to everyone's b'derech matana. V'yafa became bon oseb Yisrael. Nonetheless, words. Here comes a Rebbe miyad b'tchilas nesiyusa in the beginning of his nesiyus u'peisek and paskins. But the whole point is you go back to your strength, right? The way you were. Asher kivin shekol nishmasav v'kaima b'jukana. This actually, look at Order 28. They're bringing here from Order of the Rebbe, from Tavshin Yud Aleph, that this quote is boring. So this Rebbe says, I haven't found it anywhere at this point in Chazal, but the similar lashon is in Zohar, but not the same. The title of the word seems to be that every neshama before it came down the Mata existed in the image before the Holy King. The Cheda means in the image of the Holy King. The Yoikan means an image, a likeness. Akoponim, that means, the Rebbe teaches, that means is, before Nosha comes down, it's B'shleimus. The whole Malka Kaddish and all of his madreges existed in every neshama, called neshama of a neshama. Lachin. I'm saying what the Rebbe Marash is saying, when it comes down, this level becomes eclipsed. And that's the Chayla Shazarian Chayla Sava that engenders this love, this sickness. Begemate Memtes. Zog the Rebbe Marash, says the Rebbe, that every Yid in its Tzarech L'Yanim Sharafuah, she doesn't need any healing, no intervention. I feel later for a kala, not even a light healing. All the Yid needs to do is just be on guard. There's a chayzer leisana can be kedem. He is restored to his former strength. The way it was lamaila at least nishlam sharanu. Exactly what all this means. Each one should think himself. But that's what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe Marash is saying that every Yid is shaykh is the shar hanun without any intervention, with which refuahs are painful and they're bitter. None of that. All he needs to do is stay on the straight and narrow. And chayzer leisana, you can be kedem least nishlam shar hanun. Gewaltige Gesach. We're getting a sense of it. And the Rebbe is pale the Inyan. This generation, he's certainly saying, doesn't need to be cleansed, doesn't need to be purged and healed. Just stay on the straight and narrow, boys. Do what you got to do. And Kolo in Yodim Sharanum, which is basically Gil HaMashiach, each one should apply it to themselves. But certainly this is an incredible empowerment and chiddush that the Rebbe is underscoring again. It seems to be the whole point of the Maimer, is to get to this. Pesach night, Tavshin Chavov. Concluding with Elokecho, h'tשכ meretz Mitzrayim. And the Eibishter says, I took you out of Anochi, Elokecho, took you out of meretz Mitzrayim Shaideis, and Nakei Kolech Misrael. Every Yid is given the koyach. Elokecho means it's drawn into you, into your world, the energy that animates you is Anochi Havaya. Shebeis Maimed the Matzav Sheyiyeh, that I was going beyond that Marash, whatever Matzav the person is. Tuchol liyos etzei avodet tzitzias Mitzrayim, you can go out of Mitzrayim. Lot says, my Mitzar Megvum shall to go out of his boundaries. He's not holding the diagram of Memtes, Shari Bina. The Rebbe is saying this applies at all the levels, no matter where he is. For sure he can go out of actual sickness. That's the easier one. Including the highest madrege, sheyushlam etzlo gila sharanun, that every Yid, shaykh every Yid, gila sharanun. I mean, you think the other way. If you're holding the highest level, you get sharanun. That's not such a big chiddush. The chiddush is to go out of. They're starting the other way. And you can go out of mitzvah magvulim, not only from sickness. I guess that's like, of course we get that koyach to not to sin. But after that, it's a matana. No. Gam b'negel ma'imad ha'matzav, the chilmak memtes, that he can have the shar hanun. And it's not a special dispensation, a special gift, and which would require tremendous purging before and the force. That's the conclusion. The ability, the power, the koyach that is given to God of all agbalas, from the lowest to the highest, nimshach mebchinas anochi. It's because anochi, it's havai de le'ela anochi, mish anochi b'chinas hakeser. And therefore that's a healing, but not a healing that comes through medication and extraneous things, but in a way that comes in easily and bepnimius. Shebanemar ki ani avay refecha shetevis arich, ani avekecha arich, which is keser Shagam hinim shechem kesed. It's also from kesed, and it's overwhelmed hearing the maamer that they couldn't give us the end of the maamer. Akoponim. That's what we're getting, friends. And Beis Hashem will begin after Pesach, the maamer b'acham shel Pesach. Meiredik, I see a long maamer, which will all be together starting when? What do you say, guys? We're going to be learning 6 o'clock the day after. The day after Pesach, unlikely. Maybe we should start from Monday. I mean, I'm ready to do it. Huh?
Was the other shear is on?
Huh?
The other shear that you have is on?
Probably. These guys are not from the Chacham. They're going to work on Friday. So they'll be on for 6:30.
No.
Huh?
We'll try.
We'll put the poll out. Official will ask them to put out the poll.